One class of metaphysical theories that we've been talking about, ontological theories, are materialist theories, that everything that exists is a material or a physical object. By contrast, there are people who claim that the material things are not the real things, kind of like what Heraclitus seems to be saying, but he says nothing is real, change is the only thing is real. But there are people who think that the material things aren't the real things. The only real things are ideas. The only thing that really exists are kind of abstract entities, objects of thought, numbers, properties, geometric shapes, the number 4, the property of being a triangle, the property of being red, the one, whatever that was for Parmenides. And we're going to see that people who have held idealist views are the Pythagoreans and the Eleatics, the people from Elea, Parmenides and Zeno. But one thing we should know, just with regard to metaphysics in general, there is another kind of view, and it's a dualistic view. That is, there are material things and there are ideas, and they are both real things. And in the modern world, that comes to that amounts to an idea that starts with Descartes, really inheriting it back from Plato, Aristotle, and the ancient Greeks, that there are physical things, our bodies, and then there are these mental things, our minds, and that a person is made up of these two kinds of things. But going back to ancient Greece and worrying about the basic problems of ontology and what the universe, what the cosmos is made out of, notice we now have an idealist theory, Pythagoreans. They were obsessed with numbers and geometric shapes. Those are the things that are real, according to them. We spent very little time on them. In fact, we just mentioned them in passing. But the guys we did spend time were our Italian pre-Socratics, Parmenides and Zeno. And remember, for them, change is the thing that's not real. Nothing changes, comes into existence, goes out of existence. None of these things that we see are real. There's only one thing that exists, right? The way you divide things up in the material world is you can count them, you can separate them. But for them, there's only the one, whatever it is that it is. It's permanent, ungenerated, indestructible, unchanging. And the weird thing about this is Parmenides can prove this. And he proves it with a deductive argument. And not only that, but his student and lover, Zeno, thinks that he can prove a lot of things to support Parmenides' conclusion, namely that all the things that we perceive are wrong. We think we see motion, that we think time elapses. We see things happening, moving in space. All three are not real. Now, there are some epistemological consequences for the metaphysical claims or the metaphysical theories of Heraclitus, Parmenides, and Zeno. The consequences, as I mentioned, there are consequences to epistemology from their metaphysics, namely, all the propositions that express our common sense beliefs about the world of sensations are false. Socrates is bald. Has to be false. Now notice knowledge. Remember back from our study of the Meno, knowledge is justified true belief or true opinion with an account. True belief with a good reason for believing. But notice, according to Heraclitus, Parmenides, and Zeno, none of our beliefs about the sensible world are true, because nothing about the sensible world is real with a capital real, with a capital R, not with a capital real, with a capital R. The idea is that reality and truth, are flip side. What makes a proposition true is that it correctly describes the way the world really is. So if there is nothing true about the sensible world, we can't know anything about the sensible world, and as a result of that, skepticism about the sensible world, the world that we see, hear, and feel, is true. And by skepticism we mean, and let's be very careful, not just that we're questioning, but rather you cannot know any. If you're a skeptic about a certain thing, you cannot know anything about that thing.